Hey, hi, hello, and welcome to the channel that I created during quarantine to prevent myself from going crazy. Now I know we're all having a hard time in lockdown, but are we having a in quarantine with your young son, his nanny, your wife, and your mistress hard time? Probably not. Now if you're thinking who would subject themselves to this type of torture, then you're in for a surprise because famed American writer Ernest Hemingway voluntarily did. The year was 1926, and the Spanish influenza had just ravaged the globe at an unprecedented scale. Bet you haven't heard that term used recently. In this post-influenza world, Ernest Hemingway, his wife Hadley, and their young son Jack, also known as Bumby, were living in Paris. At this time, Ernest was a rising star in the literature world, regularly attending Gertrude Stein's salons and rubbing shoulders with other lost generation legends such as F. Scott Fitzgerald and painters Pablo Picasso and Juan Gris. He was climbing the ladder of success and getting a few lifestyle upgrades along the way, including a bougie new mistress. The new woman in his life was none other than Pauline Pfeiffer, a fashionable heiress who was an editor at Vogue and had a personality lively enough to match her profession. During this summer, the nightmare that plagues every cheater came true for Ernest. His wife discovered the affair. Like any scorned woman, she confronted him about it, only to have him turn things around on her and blame her for his infidelity. Gaslighting much? Instead of leaving her glamorous life behind, Hadley decided to stay in the marriage and adjust to her new normal. Again, a term you probably haven't heard in the last few weeks. Hadley decided to take Bumby to Captain Tibes to stay at Villa America with fellow high society couple Sarah and Gerald Murphy. Somewhere between frolicking on the beach and lounging about the French Riviera, Bumby's cough worsened to the point that a doctor was called in to inspect the young boy. Was he diagnosed with coronavirus? No. Unfortunately, Bumby had whooping cough. Today, in our post-vaccine world, whooping cough is not too much of an issue in the developed world. However, this was 1926, and the vaccine didn't roll out until the 1940s. Fearing that others would contract the highly infectious respiratory disease from Bumby, Hadley and her son were ordered into quarantine. They were exiled to a cottage in Tibes that was generously offered to them by F. Scott Fitzgerald and his wife Zelda. You know, the F. Scott Fitzgerald that wrote The Great Gatsby, The Beautiful and the Damned, and This Side of Paradise? Yeah, casual, right? During this time, Gerald Murphy wrote a letter to Ernest Hemingway, who was in Madrid soaking up the warm Spanish sun and perhaps catching a bullfight or two. While Gerald Murphy was assuring Hemingway that everything was under control, Bumby's nanny was hustling down from Paris to enter lockdown with Hadley and Bumby. While it seemed like everyone on the outside was putting on a happy face about the situation, Hadley was immensely unhappy and under mountains of loneliness and stress. She found solace in walks into town and bottles of whiskey. And honestly, can you blame her? However, her loneliness would soon be addressed, and not in a way that anyone would expect. On May 21st, Hadley wrote her husband informing him that she had invited his mistress to stop off here if she wants. It would be a swell joke on Tote Lamode if you and Fife and I spent the summer together on the Riviera. Conveniently, Pauline Pfeiffer was immune to whooping cough after having had it as a child. Soon enough, Pfeiffer moved into the cottage, and following closely behind was Hemingway, thus cementing one of the craziest situations to happen in the history of lockdowns. Imagine this, you're in a small, cramped cottage with your ill child, ever-present nanny, estranged wife, and sultry mistress. What to you and I might seem like complete and utter chaos, Hemingway called a splendid place to write. Have you seen any of the memes where neighbors are enjoying an alcoholic beverage together while still maintaining the strict 6-foot social distancing rule? Well, the legends of the lost generation were doing this before it was cool. During cocktail hour, the Murphys and the Fitzgeralds would park their car on the road in front of the quarantined cottage and share a drink with the eclectic Hemingway group who toasted them from the porch. Soon, Bumby recovered and the clan was able to break free from their isolation and move to a nearby hotel. There they continued their unusual arrangement, with Hadley later remembering that everything was done à trois. It even became a common occurrence for Hadley, Pauline, and Ernest to share breakfast all together in bed. However, the throuple's arrangement did not last, and Hadley and Ernest's marriage fell apart before the summer was over. Ernest later went on to marry Pauline, and, spoiler alert, that didn't last either.